Welcome to the Man of Recaps. This is the complete Marvel recap before Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. Now, everything through Avengers Endgame is ancient history at this point and covered in my previous recap, so watch those if you need it. This new saga begins with Spider-Man Far From Home. The world is dealing with the after effects of the blip, when Thanos snapped away half the population, then 5 years later the Avengers snapped him back. With Iron Man dead, the world is wondering who will be the next big hero. It might be Peter Parker Spider-Man, or it might be this new hero Mysterio, but turns out he's a villain. He's a con man faking his powers with hologram tech. Spider-Man finally defeats him, but not before he outs his secret identity, Peter Parker, to the world. Also, the Nick Fury in this movie turns out was actually a Skrull shapeshifter. Remember from Captain Marvel, they're good guys. They were covering for Fury while he's off on a secret mission in space, so watch out for that. Next up is the first Disney Plus series, WandaVision. Remember, Wanda Maximoff and Vision had a romance going, but unfortunately he was killed in Infinity War. But now the two of them are living in an old school TV sitcom with no explanation. Long story short, she was so sad over Vision's death, she lost control of her powers and turned this whole town into Sitcomsville, where she and Vision could have a family and live happily ever after. Unfortunately though, she's accidentally taken this whole town hostage. We meet our new secret agency, SWORD, which is basically like S.H.I.E.L.D. in space. We follow Agent Monica Rambeau, yes, the little girl from Captain Marvel. And Monica Rambeau travels through the Hex, which somehow gives her unspecified superpowers, and the Skrulls come to recruit her for Nick Fury's space mission. Meanwhile, bad government guy tried to weaponize original Vision's body, but TV Vision talks him out of it and he flies off. But one of the side characters, the neighbor Agnes, is actually the witch Agatha Harkness, here to steal Wanda's powers. So Wanda and Agatha have their final witch fight where Wanda wins. Wanda leaves Agatha there, but turns her back into her character Agnes. And Wanda does the right thing, takes down the Hex to free the town because she's not a villain, even though that means she loses her kids who are not real but were real to her. Next up is the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Remember in Endgame, old Steve Rogers passed the mantle of Captain America to his friend the Falcon, Sam Wilson. But Sam's like, look, no one can live up to that legacy, we should retire the shield. But immediately the government names a new Captain America, this random douchebag. Meanwhile, Sam teams up with his bickering buddy Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, to take down a new group of super soldiers, the Flag Smashers. And they need help from a villain, Zemo from Civil War. We didn't get to know him much in Civil War, but turns out he's super rich and kind of a hilarious guy and a great dancer. He takes them to the crime city of Madripoor, where they also recruit Sharon Carter, who's also on the run after Civil War. Now the Flag Smashers are kind of good guys trying to help people displaced by the blip, but they do blow people up, so not that good. The new Captain America, John Walker, tries to fight him, but they got super strength. They destroyed all the serum except for one, so he takes it, and now he's a full-on super soldier. But when they kill his friend, he gets real mad, and oh no, kills one of them! He defiled the shield, and now it's trending on TikTok. So Sam and Bucky fight him to get the shield back, and with a new Wakandan supersuit, Sam Wilson is the new Captain America. He does not have super strength, but he can fly, so fair trade-off. Long story short, he saves the day, Zemo goes back to prison, and Sharon Carter gets her pardon, but turns out she is the mysterious leader of Madripoor, the power broker, so she's kind of a villain now. And John Walker is approached by Julia Louise-Dreyfus, playing a shady spy-type character, Val. She puts him in a cool new black suit and renames him the US Agent, and it seems like she's putting together a team of heroes that aren't afraid to kill people. Next up is Black Widow. Yes, Natasha Romanoff, the Black Widow, finally gets her own solo movie. Of course, she's dead now, having tragically sacrificed herself in Endgame. This movie takes place right after Civil War when she was on the run, where she has to take down the new floating Red Room where they're training a new group of Black Widow assassins, including one called Taskmaster, who's been trained in the fighting styles of all the Avengers. Long story short, she blows it up and unbrainwashes them all. The important thing from this movie is that Natasha reconnects with her sister, Yelena. She was a Black Widow too and is just as badass as Natasha, and seems like she might take up her sister's mantle, become the new Gen Z Black Widow. Next up, it's Loki, Season 1. Remember, during Endgame's time heist, they accidentally knocked the Space Stone to Loki. He was all set to resume his plans for world domination, but then some random people came out of a portal and put him under arrest. They work for the TVA, the Time Variance Authority. They monitor all of time and keep people from stepping off their preordained destinies. This prevents a multiverse from emerging, keeps it all a nice tight single timeline. This Loki's off his rails, they're gonna prune him, but one agent steps in, it's Owen Wilson as Agent Mobius. Instead, he recruits this Loki to help track down another, more evil Loki, but turns out it's not an evil Loki, it's a girl Loki whose name is Sylvie. Loki and Sylvie team up to take down the corrupt TVA, along the way meeting tons of other Loki variants. Then Loki and Sylvie go to find out who's really pulling the strings, and turns out it is just some guy. Now pay attention to this part because it's important for Quantumania. This guy's name is Kang, and he's a human scientist from future Earth who discovered the multiverse and met up with all his other selves. But some of his other selves wanted to conquer the multiverse, and so it started a multiversal war. So this one created the TVA, whose real purpose was to prevent prevent other Kangs from emerging. By the way, these two fell in love, but Sylvie kicks Loki away because she wants to stab this guy and burn the whole thing down. He's like, well, guess you'll meet new versions of me soon, because without the TVA, new timelines start branching, and the multiverse is here. Next up is What If Season 1. It's an awesome animated show that explores this new multiverse, as narrated by the Watcher, who has taken a vow not to interfere. It explores cool alternate timelines, like what if, instead of Steve Rogers, we got Captain Peggy Carter. The Season 1 finale asks what if Ultron won. Long story short, he got the Infinity Stones, destroyed the whole universe, so the Watcher had to break his vow, recruited his favorite alternate heroes into the Guardians of the Multiverse. Next up, it's Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Meet Shang, a nice normal guy living in San Francisco with his best friend Katie, but when he's attacked by some goons on the bus, turns out he's not so normal. He's a kung fu master. Turns out his father was an ancient Chinese warlord who conquered the world with the power of the Ten Rings, mysterious artifacts which made him a video game character. He created the Ten Rings, League of Assassins, to manipulate the world from the shadows. His whole life he trained Shang to be an assassin too, but Shang's a good guy, so he ran away. But soon their dad picks him up and takes him to his secret ninja compound. They travel to the mystical village of Ta Lo, where Pokemon are real. They guard the prison of the ancient demon who's tricked their father into opening it, and boom, Demon Lord out. Evil Dad realizes he's made a huge mistake and sacrifices himself to save Shang and passes the Ten Rings to him. Then Shang-Chi, with the Ten Ring Super Punch, blows this thing up. His sister takes over the Ten Rings organization, and it's unclear if it's still evil or not. But as for the Ten Rings themselves, no one knows what they are, but when Shang put them on, it sent out a beacon, so watch out for that. Next up is Eternals. Meet the Eternals, a group of super space people who came to Earth in ancient times. In fact, they inspired a lot of cool legends like Athena and Gilgamesh. They were sent here with one job, to fight the Deviants, these dinosaur monsters. And they killed the last Deviant like 1,000 years ago, so now in modern times, they're just kinda chillin'. We follow Cersei, who is hilariously dating Jon Snow. But when a Deviant shows up, her eternal ex-boyfriend flies in, and I kid you not, it's Robb Stark. They track down the rest of the gang, like Kingo, who's a Bollywood movie star, and they get a call from their boss, the giant celestial Arishem. He explains their real job was to prepare Earth for the birth of a new celestial, which would unfortunately destroy the planet. Most of the Eternals have built lives here and are not gonna let that happen. But Icarus is like, yo, it's our job, so he goes full Homelander on him, and it's a big Eternals fight. In the end, the emergence is starting, so it's up to Cersei to stop it by using her power to turn this whole thing into marble. Icarus feels real bad now, so he yeets himself into the sun. So the day is saved until their celestial boss shows up. He takes the Eternals with him like, we're gonna have a talk, and maybe I'll be back to destroy the Earth later. Meanwhile, some of the gang is out in space looking for other Eternals, and they find one called Star Fox. Also, Jon Snow has a family heirloom that's a magic sword, so watch out for that. Next up is Hawkeye. Meet Kate Bishop, the self-described greatest archer in the world. She's from a wealthy New York family and gets wrapped up in a criminal conspiracy. Who also investigating is Clint Barton, Hawkeye, her favorite Avenger. She basically forces him to take her as a sidekick, and these two do some Arrow adventures together. The leader of the gang they're fighting is Echo, who is deaf and has a prosthetic leg, but is a huge badass. Also here for vengeance is Yelena. Someone just put out a hit on Hawkeye, and Val told her that he killed her sister. Kate and Yelena eat macaroni and become new best friends. And Yelena tells Kate that the person who ordered the hit was Kate's mom, who turns out works for the big crime boss of New York. You know who that is! It's Kingpin! Yes, Wilson Fisk from the Netflix Daredevil show, now officially part of the MCU. So our archers team up to take him down and save Christmas. He's a really tough guy though, very difficult to kill. Kate even blows him up, but he still walks that off. But turns out he's the uncle of Echo, who just found out he had her father killed. And she shoots him, but he'll probably walk that off too. So Kate Bishop and Clint Barton saved Christmas, and now she's ready to become the new Hawkeye. And now it's Spider-Man No Way Home. After Mysterio leaked his identity, Peter's life is turned upside down, so he goes to visit his wizard friend, Doctor Strange. It's like, yeah bro, I'll cast a spell to make the world forget you're Spider-Man, but Peter keeps adding exceptions like Aunt May, Ned, and MJ, and so the spell's unstable, and wow, what happened? It somehow brought in people that knew his identity from other universes, like Dr. Octopus from Spider-Man 2. They gotta send these guys back to where they belong, so Peter assembles Team Spider and track down Sandman and Jamie Foxx's Electro and the Lizard, and of course the Green Goblin, who is Norman Osborn's evil Gollum alter ego. But now the Goblin takes over, and when Aunt May comes to help, hits her with the glider, and Aunt May dies? No! Meanwhile, Ned discovered he can do magic, but he didn't summon his Peter. That's the amazing Spider-Man Andrew Garfield. And yes, they're all coming back. It's Tobey Maguire too. It's hilarious as all three Peter Parkers become new best friends, and we get a triple Spider-Man finale. But wait, the Green Goblin pumpkin bombs the spell, which boom! The only way to stop it is not not just to make the world forget Peter Parker is Spider-Man, but to make them forget Peter Parker at all. And the spell works. Everyone's sent back to their home universes, and everyone's forgotten all about Peter. So Peter Parker goes off on his own. No more fancy Stark tech, just your good old-fashioned, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Next up is Moon Knight. Stephen Grant is a nice English chap who works in the Egyptian Museum, but he's been blacking out lately and waking up in violent situations. Turns out he has an alternate personality, a badass American, Mark Spector, who is the superhero Moon Knight. They are the avatar of the Egyptian god Khonshu, and the villain this season is the avatar of the evil crocodile god. So Moon Knight leaps into action on an adventure in Egypt, but sometimes Stephen takes over and isn't down with all this violence. Long story short, Mark and Stephen come to accept each other and themselves, and they work together to save the day. They get Khonshu to release them as his avatar, but that doesn't apply to their secret third personality, Jake Lockley, who speaks Spanish and loves killing people. Next up is Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Dr. Stephen Strange is defending New York from an interdimensional monster that's chasing this teenager, America Gomez. America has unique multiversal traveling powers, and someone bad's coming after her to steal them. Dr. Strange goes to recruit Wanda Maximoff to help, but turns out Wanda is the villain who's chasing after her. She's been corrupted by the evil spellbook, the Darkhold, and has gone full Scarlet Witch. Her children exist in most other universes. She wants America's powers to go out and be with them. And Wanda is real strong. Dr. Strange can't stop her. She's gonna get America, but America bams them out of their multiversal trippy travel. They land in an alternate New York that instead of the Avengers, they have the Illuminati that are alternate versions of our heroes like Captain Peggy Carter. And it also includes famous Marvel heroes that aren't in the MCU yet, like Black Bolt of the Inhumans, as well as Professor Xavier, from the X-Men, and Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic of the Fantastic Four. But Wanda possesses her doppelganger here, and the Illuminati think they can stop her, but they're wrong. It's not even close. She destroys them. But now our Strange uses the Darkhold to bust out some serious dark magic and fight fire with fire. Then America learns to control her powers. Boom! Multiversal punch. Sends Wanda to an Earth where her children see her being an evil witch, and she's like, yeah, maybe I become the bad guy here. So she sacrifices herself, destroying Evil Mountain and erasing the Darkholds in all the universes. At the end, Doctor Strange meets Purple Charlize Theron, who's like, yo, I need your help. And turns out he's got that evil third eye, but he seems to have it under control, so watch out for that. Up next is Ms. Marvel. Kamala Khan is a teenager from New Jersey who's a superhero superfan. When she finds her great-grandma's mysterious old bangle, she thinks it'll spice up her Captain Marvel cosplay, but it does more than that. It gives her superpowers. Whoa! She defends Jersey City as the superhero Nightlight, but pretty soon thinks that name is lame and rebrands as Ms. Marvel. She fights the interdimensional super people, the Jinn, of which her great-grandmother was one. And turns out her powers don't come from the bangle. They just unlocked what was already inside her. And here it is, the MCU's first M-bomb. She's a mutant. Yes, the X-Men are coming back. Then at the end, for reasons unknown, Kamala switches places with her idol, the Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers. So watch out for that. Now it's time for Thor, Love and Thunder. In Avengers Endgame, Thor had let himself go, but after a quick workout montage, he's back to his old self. He had joined up with the Guardians of the Galaxy, but he's kind of ruining their vibe, so they part ways. Now someone has been killing other gods. It's this guy Gore, whose daughter died, and when he went to his god for help, it turns out most gods don't care about people. So Gore grabbed the nearby Necro sword and killed him, vowed to destroy all gods. He's coming for New Asgard, so Thor busts in to help, but turns out there's already another Thor here. It is his ex-girlfriend, Dr. Jane Foster. His hammer Mjolnir was still laying where Hela broke it, but Jane Foster came, and if you be worthy, you get the power of Thor, and yeah, she's got the hammer back, and she's the mighty Thor. They try to get help to stop Gore from the other gods, including Zeus, but he's not interested. Sounds like a you problem, so Thor steals his lightning bolt and stabs him with it. Zeus survives though, and in the end credit scene, he sends his son Hercules to get revenge on Thor. Now it's been a long time since Thor and Jane broke up, and going on this adventure together rekindles their romance. Tragically, she's dying of cancer, and the hammer only cures her temporarily. Using it is just draining her more. Gore's gonna open the Eternity Wishing Well, so Double Thors team up to take him down. But they're too late. He gets there, gonna wish to kill all gods, but Thor's like, hey man, why don't you just wish to bring your daughter back? He's like, oh man, yeah, that actually sounds better. So instead of choosing vengeance, he chooses love and brings his daughter back to life. But now sadly, Jane Foster dies, but she turns into glowing Asgard dust because she died as an Asgard warrior. She gets to go to Valhalla. And without the Necrosword, Gore dies too, so now Thor goes into daddy mode as he's adopted this cute little kid. Then it's She-Hulk, attorney at law. Jennifer Walters is a nice normal lawyer who turns out is cousins with Bruce Banner, the Incredible Hulk. After a car crash, they swap some blood, and oh no, Jen hulks out. Cousin Bruce teaches her how to be a Hulk, which she picks up easily, can control it immediately, but Jen didn't pass the bar to be a full-time superhero, so she continues practicing as a lawyer who sometimes hulks out. She gets a new job as a super-person attorney, and in fact her first client is Emil Blonsky, the Abomination from the old Hulk movie. Just like Bruce, he's learned to control the Abomination now and isn't really a bad guy, wants a new chance, so she gets him off on parole. Now this show is mostly a comedy, and the rest of the episodes feature one-off hilarious metahuman legal cases, and in one of them her opposing counsel is none other than Matt Murdock. He had a quick cameo in Spider-Man No Way Home, but now he's here for a full episode suiting up as Daredevil, and Daredevil's back in the MCU. And Matt and Jen hit it off, and these two get it on. All right. At the end, he's meeting her family, including her cousin Bruce, who turns out has a son from space. Watch out for that. Now it's Black Panther, Wakanda forever. We begin with the funeral of King T'Challa, who, much like actor Chadwick Boseman, tragically died of illness. His mom takes over as queen, and the problem is the rest of the world wants Wakanda's vibranium. Now there's no vibranium anywhere else in the world, except America just found some in the ocean. But these blue mer people don't like that, and now it's basically Avatar Way of the Water. Their leader visits Wakanda. He is not blue, and his name is Namor. He explains they're basically underwater Wakanda, and is like, we need to team up against the rest of the world. He's hunting the scientist who built the vibranium sensor, but turns out it's just a college student, Riri Williams. And she is a super genius. In fact, she's built her own Iron Man suit. Now T'Challa's sister Shuri is trying to make peace with Namor, but just like Killmonger, he thinks the only way to keep his people safe is to conquer the rest of the world, and that's just not gonna fly. So Namor invades Wakanda, and by the way, he's got wings on his feet and can fly around super strong. He's a mutant apparently, and with his super water balloons, oh no, kills Shuri's mom. So now Shuri's super sad, goes into science mode to build an artificial Black Panther flower, and yes, it is Shuri who's the new Black Panther. She leads her people on a counterattack, gets Namor on land where he's weak, but instead of vengeance, she chooses mercy, and so Wakanda and Talokan make a truce. And at the end, it turns out T'Challa and his girlfriend had a secret son, T'Challa Jr., so his legacy lives on. And Val de Fontaine shows up in this movie too. Turns out she's the ex-wife of Everett Ross, so watch out for that. Now before Quantumania, here's a quick recap on Ant-Man. Remember, Paul Rudd is Scott Lang, a burglar with a heart of gold who's trying to turn over a new leaf because he just wants to be a good father to his daughter, Cassie. He's recruited by scientist Hank Pym, who's invented the Pym particle and the Ant-Man suit, which lets you, shrink way down. Or sometimes grow real big and also somehow control ants. Hank has a daughter, Hope, who has a romance with Scott, and he builds her own Wasp suit. So in Ant-Man and the Wasp, Scott and Hope team up to get really small and go to the Quantum Realm, where Hank's wife, Janet, has been lost. But they didn't stick around there. The Quantum Realm is still a huge mystery. Now after the 5-year blip, Scott's daughter, Cassie, has grown up to a teenager. And of course, don't forget the most important character, Scott's best friend Louise, who is maybe even a better recapper than I am. If you liked this recap, hit that subscribe button for more of the best recaps of TV and movies.